Welcome to the MDV Plus One VTC. Welcome to Module 1. This is our exclusive content for the VTC. What we're going to do is I'm going to go over each of the sections and kind of give a brief overview for the content that's in them, so you guys have the ability to just skip to whatever most interests you, or you can just watch it front to back. All right, so section 1 is MDV Familiarization. We have 3 chapters here. The first one is history. This is a conversation between me and Craig Burhart, the owner of Skallywag Tactical. And what we do is we just cover how the design came to be, a little bit of my history with Skallywag, and you know, we talk a little bit about the manufacturing side, and so it's a good conversation to just get an overview of how things happen and how it's progressed up to the point. Chapter 2 is going to be purpose. So the purpose of the MDV that we started with, the why of creating it. Chapter 3 is going to be design. So as far as design is concerned, that means everything from the handle to the hook to that horn to it not having a choil to the edge design to the last 2 sheaths, how I created the rhino sheath, why I created the rhino sheath, and then obviously the flat sheath. Basically anything you want to know about the overall design of the MDV that is out of place, you will find in that chapter. All right, so section 2 is mindset. This is probably one of the more important sections in my opinion. Yes, physical skills are important, but if you don't have the proper mindset, then all the skills in the world are never going to actually be utilized in a violent scenario. Chapter 4 is about the inventor. The reason that we have this chapter is it's very important for you to at least understand the perspective of who created the blade that you are carrying, or at least studying. This is going to give you a understanding of maybe some of the decisions that aren't directly obvious. All right, so that's a little bit about myself, and in turn I would say the most horrible video that I had to videotape because I don't like talking about myself. Chapter 5 is inventor's mindset. What this is my thought process as far as using a knife, the things that I believe are most important as I have developed the knife, and everything that pertains to that subject. It is going to cross into the next chapter, which is training methodology, and that is a mindset chapter on what I would like for you guys to know as far as the student walking into the training. So what kind of training mindset you should have, and if you have a mindset that differs from this, it might conflict with some of the techniques or the progression that you would naturally think this type of course would have. And so obviously this section is very important to outline your expectations for what is going to be presented in future chapters and future sections. Section 3 is fundamentals. And so this is the first section where we are showing physical skills. All right, so chapter 7 is going to be carry options. I'm going to show both the rhino sheath and the flat sheath. I'm going to show how I like to carry in both of those sheaths, whether that be pocket carry or behind the belt, or using the flat sheath as a horizontal carry. I go over all of that. So in chapter 8, what we talk about is weapons deployment. The ability to get your knife into the fight and do it efficiently is very important. It is a fundamental skill, but it does pertain to the type of knife that you have. So it is a customized type of class where I am going to be talking about the carry options and then the different ways to actually get that knife into the fight. Chapter 9 is weapons handling. And so it is one of the number one skill sets that fall under fundamentals that allow you to professionally handle an edge weapon. And so both weapons deployment and weapons handling, in my mind, are of the utmost importance. And so we spend a little bit of time on the specifics for the MDV and how to switch hands and how to transition and everything that kind of falls into that subject matter. And so that concludes section 3. All right, so section 4 is basics. If you don't know the difference between fundamentals and basics, or at least the mindset that me and Jack have towards it, there are videos online at eliteu.com or on YouTube that kind of discuss this. Basically, the fundamentals cover any type of knowledge or technique that you are going to need to build off of or combine into scenarios that basics will fall under. So once you have the fundamentals down, you can move into basics, and chapter 10 is grip considerations. One, a lot of times people grip the MDV improperly as far as the design was concerned. And then there are a couple different grips that most people don't even discover that I use on a regular basis. And so I wanted to go over those and just kind of show you the pros and cons to them, as well as why I do that and how to get into those grips consistently from any type of weapons deployment carry option that you have. Chapter 11 is the fastest draw. Basically, in gunfighting, what happens is if you feel like you're going to be in danger, then putting the pistol in your hand is the fastest draw that you possibly can have because you don't have to draw it. The concept of the MDV was built around that tenet, and so what we're looking to do is show you how to use the rhino sheath as well as the flat sheath to have the MDV in your hands for whatever aspect that you need it for, whether that be non-lethal or increasing the violence intensity so that it pushes into lethal aspects as well. Chapter 12 and chapter 13 are very short chapters. Chapter 12 is striking, and chapter 13 is grabbing. It should be a pretty obvious statement that those chapters basically focus on doing those actions with the MDV in your hand. Obviously, we're going to focus on different sheaths, but the thing is that, you know, there are a multitude of different ways to strike, making sure that you don't break a finger when you strike. And I show how even when striking harder, it's not going to hurt your hand as long as you do that properly. Just like with any skill, I feel like even if it's an obvious skill, sometimes people don't have the resident knowledge walking into it to safely perform things that other people consider common sense. The other thing that the grabbing chapter focuses on is when you have an object in your hand, like a knife, then people tend to lower their efficiency in altercations as far as working with an opponent or fighting against an opponent because they're used to having their hands free to grab or strike or do whatever. And so both chapters kind of focus on how to just get back to feeling natural even though you have the MDV in your hand. Moving into chapter 14, we start talking about non-lethal techniques. So I place the MDV in my hand and I want to utilize techniques that are not going to cause the opponent to die. That's basically what non-lethal is. So we do eye gouges with, say, the hook, how to use the horn or the back part of that hook to motivate people to get out of vehicles or to apply some sort of compliance to someone else. And then we use the MDV in a similar fashion as a Kubaton. I know a lot of people don't like those kinds of techniques, but I personally have found that if you have a high enough skill set and you are confident in violent scenarios, you can have a level of control and attempt to do techniques that others may find risky, because you can always just revert to extreme violence. And so it does provide people the option to utilize, say, control tactics in areas where the majority of people that are untrained would normally resort to something that may be lethal. This is very, very important as far as providing a weapon or tool to law enforcement, because now what happens is, even though it's a knife, they can then prove that they were using it for non-lethal purposes. And so that's what that chapter covers, and it covers a multitude of different strategies and considerations. Chapter 15 is knife to pistol. How do you deploy your knife, and then when the fight changes, whether or not you need to upgrade or you need to engage a target at distance, transitioning from the knife to a pistol. That both talks about keeping the knife in the right hand or your dominant hand while you're drawing. The MDV allows you to do that. And also transitioning or switching the knife from your dominant hand to your non-dominant hand and allowing you to draw your pistol. So I cover a couple different ways to do this, whether that be in the open, as far as like shadow boxing kind of training, utilizing a bob, and utilizing a training partner. And that concludes section 4, which is basics. It is one of the, I would say, longer sections, but it is one of the sections where most people are probably going to jump to right away. Before you do that, I would say that you should check out the Edge Weapons Familiarization class that I have, which is in Module 2. Section 5 is skills and drills. I had it just as drills, and then I realized that, well, I don't believe in generic drills. So even though I do provide the options of creating a customized drill for yourself, and I provide different options, a better chapter name was skills and drills. So if you take the fundamentals section and all of the skills that I talk about there, I am going to then create drills that will enhance all of the techniques and strategies that we worked on there. Basic drills, okay, so everything from the basic section, doing the exact same thing that I just talked about with fundamentals. Integrated tactics. What this is the understanding that you need to use the appropriate tool or the appropriate skills depending on the scenario. So even if you like edge weapons, every scenario does not create the solution of using an edge weapon as the optimal way to deal with it. Same thing for those that carry concealed pistols. You know, shooting everything is not probably the best way to deal with things. So the understanding of integrated tactics is the fact that I will use the ability to de-escalate the scenario. So understanding of situational awareness, talking somebody down if I have to. Then if I need to use unarmed skills and I can do that, then I go from unarmed to edge weapons to upgrade, or edge weapons directly to pistol. And so this section here talks about different drills that you can do so that you can transition from one to the other as seamlessly as you possibly can, and the different ways that we train people in our courses. All right, so that concludes all of Module 1. As you can probably tell, there's a lot of content directly in there. Hell, there was just a lot to talk about as far as chapters are concerned. So we spent a long time trying to provide uh, each chapter with good content and maybe some aspects that are unique to the MDV, as well as applying our backgrounds and experience directly to the training content. I did take into consideration the fact that you're not training with me directly. So when we start talking about the drills, I am focused more on providing you with the principles and the goals that you're looking for when you're building your own drills. I feel like if I were just to provide you with generic drills, what would happen is you would run those drills, and after so long, you wouldn't be able to continue doing those because you get diminishing returns. Whereas if I teach you how to build your own drills, then you can provide your own training curriculum over time and you understand why you are doing the drills that you're doing. So I hope you enjoy this module. It is all of the exclusive content for the MDV, and I look forward to all the feedback and all the follow-up questions that you shoot over to us. Always remember that you can reach me directly at mdv@eliteu.com, or you can send feedback or content requests at content@eliteu.com.